for shaping and sharpening our human capital. In fact, today, the biggest contributor to our GDP in terms of resources that we raise as government is resources that come from our human capital. In fact, the highest foreign exchange earner today in Kenya is our human capital in the diaspora. Diaspora remittance, which is basically our human capital remittance from diaspora, has exceeded coffee, tea, horticulture in terms of the amount of money we raise. And therefore, education, the single most important enabler of our human capital, is the discussion we are having in this auditorium. And that is why it is probably the most important discussion. The third reason why it is the most important discussion is because we have agreed that as a nation, the single most important discussion we are going to have in this election is the economy. And as I have said, the biggest contributor to our economy is our human capital. And the most important enabler of our human capital is education. That is why we isolated education to have a standalone conversation, a standalone symposium, because it is one of the most important sectors that we must shape so that we can move our country to the next level. I say so also authoritatively as a former Minister for Higher Education. I know how working on education can change the destiny of our nation. I know, for example, that reorienting and re-engineering our education has enabled 480,000 students today to be in our Tibet institutions, as opposed to about 89,000 in 2013. And that has created a human capital that is more focused, with skills, with competencies, that will help us achieve the targets of Vision 2030 and all the other targets we've set out for ourselves as a nation to achieve. My good teacher, Professor Munafu, has said that this discussion we're going to have here is going to be largely about 3 or 4 factors. One is access. How do we improve access? How do we achieve universal access? Number 2, how do we make sure that our education is relevant so that we can use it to tackle the challenges of our time? The shift to Tibet was part of that endeavor to make our education relevant to what we need, the kind of human capital we need to be able to achieve what we are looking for. All our other endeavors as a nation in food security, in health, and in all the other spheres in our economy, the kind of human capital we develop will make it that much more easy to achieve those targets. The third issue is affordability. How affordable is our education? How do we make it that much more affordable? How do we make it that much more affordable? So that the majority, as we discuss free primary, free secondary, our tertiary institutions, TVETs, and all the other tertiary institutions, all the way to university, how do we make it? How do we fund it? How do we make sure it's affordable for the majority of the citizens of our country? So these are the issues that we want to have a discussion around. Access, relevance, affordability. These are issues we want to have a conversation about so that we can build a human capital that is going to give us the edge, not only to achieve what we have set out to achieve as a nation, but to make sure that that education is internationally competitive and we can have access to opportunities beyond the boundaries of our nation. So I thought it is important for us to calibrate the kind of discussion we're going to have. And I want to thank the stakeholders that have participated in many meetings that have gone into the meeting we are having here today. As a policy in Kenya Kwanza, we decided that we are not going to write a manifesto in some hotel room or in some conference somewhere. We are going to have a robust engagement. We have collected a lot of views from stakeholders in the many economic fora we have had around the country. We've had views from teachers, from managers of schools, from parents, from students on what they think about health, Higher Education Loans Board, on what they think about the curriculum we're running, on what they think about CBC. We've collected a lot of information, and that information has been processed through the various education-specific sector meetings that have gone into the journey towards us arriving at this final symposium. So, to all of you who have contributed your ideas, you have made suggestions, you have given us ideas, and to thank our technical teams, members, who have committed a lot of time in putting this together voluntarily. Members of WASU, members of KUPPET, members of NAT, members of private schools, and many other stakeholders, including our church institutions who are partners in running our education institutions. We have come here finally to have this final conversation, and as Kenya Kwanza, we will be happy to sign a charter with the education sector on agreed parameters on what needs to be done on teachers' shortage, what needs to be done on capitation, what needs to be done on higher education loans board, provision, and all the other areas that we want to engage in as a way of arriving at education being the driver for our economic model and making sure that bottom-up is enabled by the kind of education that we have. I forgot to mention one last thing, is quality. Accessible, affordable, relevant, and the right quality of education. That's really at the bottom of what we need to discuss so that we don't get half-baked people at the end of our education chain. We get people with the correct quality education. We are going to have a conversation about competence-based education. I want to say from the onset that the graduation that has taken place from knowledge and exam-based education to now knowledge, competence, skills-based, and value-based education is the right trajectory. So it's very important for us to understand that as Kenya Kwanza, we support the progression from what we had as knowledge and exam-based education only to the new format of knowledge, skills, and competence, as well as value-based education. The conversation we want to have is, we are now 5 years into CBC. UNESCO guidelines gives us the latitude that every 5 years you have to review your education curriculum. And this is the moment. We've had concerns from parents, we've had concerns from teachers, we've had concerns from various stakeholders. As Kenya Kwanza, we want to have a robust conversation with the public, with all the stakeholders, so that we can have an education system that where everybody is comfortable, and it leads us to quality, it leads us to relevance, it's also affordable, and it's of good quality. That's really where we want to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am truly happy to participate in this conversation. I think it is the most important conversation, as I have said earlier, and this discussion is now open. I know I cannot claim to be a professional. I know there are so many other professionals who can speak to this, but I can also confirm that I have gone to school. I have an idea of what it should be. So, and I want to thank my teachers who are here and all the other. I also have people I went with to school and many other people. I know there is There is now huge controversy about degrees and this kind of thing. And I think sorting out our education the way we are doing it will actually remove some of the gray areas that have occasioned the kind of challenges we have today of us not knowing who was in school, who was not. And it will also help us to eliminate cases of people saying they went to school, they have no known classmates, they have no known lecturers, and nobody knows what courses they did. So I think it will help us sort out the whole of that mess. So welcome, good people, to this very important conversation, and I think we can now take it up from there. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now, I will call the first speaker, who is going to present the status of basic education and recommendations, Alfred Indimuli.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellencies, party leaders who are here, the Chair of the Education Committee, colleague educationalists, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me great pleasure to be here today to address this forum. And before I say anything, Your Excellency, allow me just to recognize some of my colleagues who have given me a mandate to chair the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association, and also other sister associations that we collaborate with very much on matters education. With me, I have representatives from KEPSHA, and I know I have the former chairman here of KEPSHA, Mr. Gademia, and his team, kindly wave. We also have KESHA officials, our secretary. Of training, how they are empowered and how they are employed becomes very key. As Kenya Kwanza takes over government, it will be important to first think of the gap in the teaching. At the moment, as principals and head teachers of various institutions, we are lacking the number of teachers that are required. I know there are very many out there that are waiting to be employed, but it would be important to first address the very needy, the gap that is there. When we last checked, our shortfall is about 118,000 teachers. This would be very important that immediately they are employed to be able to take care of the 100% transition, to be able to take care as we prepare for junior secondary students that are coming to us, and then eventually ensure that those teachers that are out there waiting to be employed are employed and employed very quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, as we look at the employment of teachers, a good teacher and a teacher that is going to deliver the curriculum the way it is must be happy, must be healthy. It will be important to look at how do we enumerate them. How is their medical cover? Is it able to take care when they fall sick? At the moment there are challenges, because at times when they go for treatment, you are told that this insurance cannot manage 1, 2, 3. So it will be important to look at the health status of our teachers. It is also important to look at the issues to do with their continuous training. A bone of contention that we have today, which I want to present to you to think about it, is the issues of the continuous training through the TPD program. That is now being said that the teachers will have to finance for themselves. That is a bone of contention. I would like to recommend that as we prepare and continuously train them, let this continuous training be borne by the government. So that when the government feels that I need to be retooled, they need to pay and ensure that I'm ready to continue working. The issues to do with safety. We are aware that across the country, some of the areas are now facing a shortfall because of the insecurity in the area. It will be important that the safety of both the learner and the students, the learner and the teachers are addressed, so that the teacher feels comfortable, the teacher knows that my responsibility is at this level, and that there is somebody else to ensure that I'm safe. It is the responsibility of government to ensure that the security of every citizen is key. The issue of remuneration. I'll address issues to do with the teachers, then move to other areas. The issues of remuneration are very important. A well-resourced, a well-tooled teacher, and finally a well-paid teacher will deliver the curriculum to the level that the government would like to look at it. Our proposal, sir, is that immediately you take over, can you look at allow the stakeholders to further discuss on the CBA? Because the CBA that has been there, the teachers out there call it the maternity CBA. Yes, it is true, when our partners deliver, we also must be available to support them, to ensure that they are strong enough, then we continue with the work. But in addition to that, the teacher will always want to see how much has been increased on my pay. So we want to request that immediately, propose that immediately you take over government, let Teacher Service Commission, our unions, take over and discuss the CBA afresh. And I think this cuts across the entire sector of education, from basic education up to tertiary education. I'm sure as my friends come to share, this will be repeated several times. The issues of facilities in our institutions. When I talk of facilities, I'm not only looking at infrastructure, the classroom alone. That is key. But one big issue issue that we must look at, and as we look at the sciences, how are we developing the infrastructure in terms of laboratories, the infrastructure in terms of libraries for research, the infrastructure in terms of technology. Because as we move forward, technology, we need to leverage on technology. And the biggest challenge that we have in these areas, Your Excellency, is the internet connectivity. When Corona hit us, we all closed schools and we closed learning. Eventually we realized that learning must continue, and we started sending lessons to students via phones. So the school was now in the phone. But when they come to school, we tell them don't come with the phones. So it will be important for us to leverage on technology, so that should we face another shock in the education sector, we do not close schools and close learning. Schools can be closed, but learning should be able to continue. It is our proposal that issues on internet connectivity be looked into, so that the tariff or the charges that go with internet connectivity are brought down for purposes of teaching and learning. 100% transition policy by government today is good. This ensures that all our children go to school. But what challenges have we faced with the 100% policy? The biggest challenge has been overstretched facilities on a certain cadre of schools that ends up with so many students, because they believe in that cadre of schools there will be quality education. But if you look at data, 70% of our schools in the nation are day schools. And consequently, the largest number of students in our country are found in day schools. The challenge has been that these day schools have not been well facilitated in terms of infrastructure, in terms of staffing, and therefore they end up not having the students that they need. Students now run away to the schools that they feel, or parent, the schools that they feel are well resourced. It is our recommendation that we should invest more in our day schools, equip them well, resource them, and then staff them, so that students and parents can have confidence to take their children to the primary schools, the day schools that are closer to them. Because we are saying, as we move these children to junior secondary, and I happen to have been a member of the task force, one of the recommendations we were saying that junior secondary should be primarily day school. But now, with the crave which the Kenyans have for boarding schools, it means that we may not achieve that unless we invest more in our day schools. So for us to achieve it, our recommendations, let us invest more in our day schools. Your Excellency, the government policy on capitation is good, because it ensures that every child has a percentage of money that ensures this child is in school. And as I said, in day schools it will be almost completely free, apart from boarding schools where the parents have to pay for boarding services. So this 100% policy and the number of students expected to be in those institutions, we still have disparities. And that is what we need to seriously look into, to ensure that the policy and capitation is is right. And how are we going to do this? We propose, Your Excellency, that when it comes to issues of utilities, and here I'm looking at electricity, water, as I've already mentioned, internet connectivity, and many other utilities that the schools use. Schools are charged for use of electricity at a market price. So you find that a school that is large enough are paying up to about 800,000 per month on electricity. This is a very big chunk. So that even if government is giving capitation, the same government through Kenya Power is receiving this money. And therefore, the schools are left with challenges. You look at water, the same. You look at sewerage services, we pay very heavily. Our proposal is that could we look at special tariffs for learning institutions? And I'm saying learning institutions because I believe from ECD up to our universities will require this special kind of arrangement. How will it benefit us? One, you may not need to now increase capitation because they are going to be paying less for service provided by institutions of government. Kenya Power, Kenya Water, and all that. When we pay low, then it means the schools, through the capitation government has been given, will be able to have enough money to do other things. And for boarding schools, it will be important to look at how do we cushion these schools with the fluctuating market prices of food items. The grains, maize and beans, sugar. It would be important now, maybe as a policy, that we look at how KCPD and other institutions can come in to sell this commodity to schools at a highly subsidized price. With the large populations that we have, we will buy more. The farmer will have an opportunity to supply to KCPD because there is ready market in our schools. You will have introduced free feeding programs from ECD and some areas in the ASAL areas, and I believe it will trickle down all the way up to the farmer who is growing this. We want to appreciate, sir, the partners who have come in to support government in ensuring that children go to school through bursaries. I have in mind APT, KCB, Jomo Kenyatta, very many other organizations, CDFs, individual people coming in to support needy children. As principals, we have noticed that one student can end up benefiting from multiple sponsors. CDF has given this student something, a church organization has given the student something, maybe the parent was following up with the EPT and the EPT also sends. So you find this one child benefiting at the expense of a very needy child who has not been reached. So that at the end of maybe a period of 4 years or so, you find a parent coming to tell you that my son has excess fees. And true, the fees is now excess. The next question he says that because it was money from my child and he has now cleared, can you refund? The question has been, whom do I refund? Do I refund the organizations that were sponsoring, or do I refund the parent? And that is why it is important for us to find a way of having a central control system that is robust, that when a living scholar from government gives indemnity the student the scholarship, that data is available somewhere. If Honorable Sosion wants to give indemnity a scholarship can query the data, and the data will tell him Indimuli is being sponsored, so you don't need to add any more sponsors. Equity is sponsoring student X. KCB does not need to sponsor the same, because there is somewhere central where this information can be found. That is very important. And I'm sure through that we will be able to reach very many needy Kenyan children who are sometimes left out because we were not able to get some of this data on time. And also, as we give out our capitation, we are cognizant of the fact that not all our schools are well populated. I am in a school that is privileged to have 2,145 students. If you give me 1,000 per child, I'll be able to have 2 million. But there are others which have only 100 students. When you give them 1,000 per child, this school will only get 100,000. But the two schools are supposed to offer the same services. The two schools are supposed to source from the same market teaching and learning materials. But government has given capitation of 1,000 across board. We feel we must look at something that we can model almost to the equalization fund of county governments. So that schools that are very low population, can you think of a way in which they can be supported with an additional fund to be able to support them grow? That one is something we can think about as a nation and find a way forward. As I've already said, the introduction of special tariffs, it is also important to note that as we integrate our children, both those with special needs with the normal ones, we need to think more about children with special needs. I think as a nation, and this I must confess, we've not thought much about children with special needs. So we need to engage more with the associations that deal with it. As I said, we have SHAC that deals with the special needs education teachers, and those will give us more insights to it in terms of infrastructure and in terms of what kind of facilities they need. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, you've talked about engagement with stakeholders in terms of changing or looking and improving on our education system. We truly want to say that is the way to go. I know it is 5 years now. We will be looking again to improve on the CBC. We know the teething issues that it is there, but as you say, it is the way to go. So it is important that we engage more with the stakeholders, the teachers, the clergy, and those that offer education to ensure that as we make these changes, we are carrying everybody along so that we don't have any dissenting voices. And lastly is the empowerment of the board of management in our schools. We are board of management in our schools across the board, but we've not empowered them enough to be able to take decisions. Always the decisions are left pending, waiting for maybe the Ministry of Education to come and pronounce on those decisions they have made. Then the question is, why do we appoint them? Then we don't give them the powers to execute. It would be important for that, and especially on matters of discipline in our institutions. The discipline in our institutions of late has been going down because the boards of management have no powers of ensuring that this discipline is maintained in terms of government coming up with regulations to operationalize the Children's Act in our schools, and other regulations that put more responsibility on the child when they are in learning institutions, rather than only looking at the right of the child and not adding and what is their responsibility. I know there are quite a number of people who would like to contribute towards this. I believe at the end of it, I have my colleague there from Kewota who would want to say a word. I know at the end, there's 2 sentences, and my colleagues Kuria and Tew, they are also here. You will allow me, Your Excellency, after everybody has presented, they can add 1 or 2 in terms of basic education. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to me. And God bless you.
Mwalimu, sorry. I just want to understand a bit of, because we want to have a charter finally.
Yes.
No? We want to have an agreement of that is going to be written. So, I know you have, you've talked about schools that have different enrollments.
Yes.
1,000, maybe 2,000, but there's a school that has 100, maybe 200. And yet, they're supposed to hire certain standard services, whether you have 1,000 or 2,000 students, or whether you have 100, you will need a secretary, you will need a bazaar, you need so many of those. And sometimes it becomes very difficult when you have 100 students. I think that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
So you're suggesting, for example, that we should have maybe a minimum essential package to run a school.
That is what we are saying. A minimum essential package that is standard.
That is standard.
Then anything on top will depend on the kind of population the school has.
Okay.
But if we only go by population alone, we will always, the schools that are down there will continue to remain down there.
Okay. And that is what is contributing to inequality in education. That's why parents are taking their kids to schools, the big schools, because they can deploy the resources they get better and get quality. While on the other side, we should be building more access by making sure that we grow the smaller schools.
Because if we want to increase access, the smaller schools must be grown.
Must survive.
Because they will be available, they will be closer to the population,
correct.
Children will be closer home, and the parents will have confidence to take a child to the school closer, rather than struggling to take a child to Alliance, Machakos, which will be far away, so they have to spend on traveling. They have to spend again more because they have to pay for boarding services. But if we grow the smaller schools, bring them up in terms of infrastructure, in terms of well-resourced and available teacher, then the parents will build confidence.
So essentially, having a minimum package that is essential for a school to exist and to grow will improve access, because then you are making even the small schools available, and most of them are largely day schools, so they are cheaper.
They are cheaper.
So instead of a parent, so it's essentially bottom up.
Very true. Very true. I totally agree with you. And that is the concept that we are having here. And that is our proposal. Grow the schools in the grassroots. And you may not need that child to leave that village looking for a school several kilometers away because it is well resourced.
Correct. On again the matter of infrastructure.
Yes.
At the moment, county governments, let me say, by virtue of operation of the law and the constitution, they are constrained from deploying county resources in putting up education infrastructure except in ECD.
Yes.
Would then be your suggestion that maybe we can open up, the counties, where counties feel that there is pressure from the public and the resources from national government are not adequate. We can open up the county government space for them to deploy county resources in putting up school infrastructure.
That one is true, because though the law has indicated that county governments are only dealing with ECDs and I think another sector there, but the same law allows for public participation. If the governor and his team engage in public participation and the public is telling them that school A in our area really requires extra classrooms, I think through public participation, and it's agreed, the county government should be allowed to help in building the infrastructure. That should be a way to go, so that we are building these things together, both the county government and national government, so that nobody looks at it as a governor. I don't say that is not my responsibility. Yet, the children are local. The children belong to that county. Yeah? So if as a county government we are saying secondary school A, and allow me to use school at home, maybe Honorable Msali would understand it better. Ivona, the secondary school, is a day school. And my county governor says he cannot put resources as Ivona Secondary because it belongs to the national government. 80% of the children going to Ivona Secondary School are from the locality. Yeah? The governor is the governor of that local area. So he cannot abdicate, he or she cannot abdicate some responsibility because the law has said. Let us allow public participation. The law should be flexible, to allow governors to engage the public, and if the public say we need 2 classrooms here in this secondary school, in this primary school, then it should be done.
Okay, Mwalimu, and maybe finally, and I'm not trying to harass you.
No.
I'm just trying to understand. You are a professional, you are a practitioner, so you know better than I do. I was in a school in Wajir, in a place called Tarwaj, about 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And I spoke to one of the teachers there, and majority of the teachers in that school were, I think I met a teacher from Bomet, and I met, and it is contributing to this constant problem of schools especially in northern Kenya. As a teacher,
Yes.
what would you recommend? Because while I was at the Ministry of Education, we tried to provide affirmative action in teacher training for people coming from localities in northern Kenya, because it is contributing to the low standards of education in northern Kenya, that most of the teachers are from very far. So whenever there is a challenge, the teachers go out and the students are stranded. What would you, as a practitioner and as a leader of a teaching fraternity, suggest to policymakers like us in terms of getting the communities there to appreciate that they need to make a contribution of people who can be trained so that they can, understanding the locality and the challenges thereof, they can better deliver education to children in those localities. What are your thoughts? What do you think?
Every child in Kenya requires a trained teacher across. I may not really advocate for what we call the affirmative action, so that the teachers in those areas maybe are taken in at lower entry point, for example. Because eventually this teacher will need to teach elsewhere in Kenya. We may not just confine them there. My view would be government must ensure security for all Kenyans and for the people. Secondly, we can enumerate this teacher slightly better. I'm borrowing a leaf from some times back when we didn't have enough teachers of science in the country. What did government do? It ensured that when you are graduating and get into the teaching profession and you are a science teacher, your salary was a few shillings higher than one who was not a science teacher. Could we say, therefore, in these areas that are challenging and a teacher A is posted there, can we add something on top of his salary? Because in Northeastern, there are teachers from elsewhere, but they are in private schools. Why are they there? And in public schools, the teachers have run away. They are there because they are better paid. So we do the same here.
Precisely, I was asking that question. So the affirmative action is in paying a little bit more.
A little bit more.
So that we can retain teachers in those areas. But the primary thing is we must provide security.
We must provide security for the teachers to be there.
Let me ask differently, because I have had engagement with leaders from Northern Kenya, and we try to persuade them that the community in Northern Kenya, mostly, they are not keen on the teaching profession.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on how we can encourage local communities to understand that being available to teach is a noble profession, and how a mechanism for us to encourage them? Maybe the one you have suggested on maybe paying them better would work.
Or even we can look at for children in that area. Government can get out of its way and say, children from Northeastern who have qualified and are going to take education to become teachers, they will go into training fully funded by government, so that they don't have to pay anything. It's an incentive to them, because they'll feel, okay, now I'll go to the university, study, and I'll not pay. And I'll not be charged even later to pay. Let it be like a full government-sponsored scholarship for them. But what I'm not agreeing is we can't lower the grades for them.
I fully support what you're saying, Mwalimu. That is, lowering the grades is not an option.
Yes.
What we can do, and maybe I can speak of my own experience. I went to Lamu and Tana River, and I've had to sponsor personally 100 teachers to go to college, so that they can go back and be teachers in the same area, in the locality, because they understand the localities better. So maybe we can open up opportunities for people who want to train as teachers from those areas, and look at a mechanism where we can provide bursaries so that we can encourage more people from those localities with challenges to turn up for teaching. And then we can add what you have suggested, that we can also provide maybe what you call hardship allowance, so that they can teach in those typical areas.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your thoughts. Maybe my good brother here.
Mwalimu, my name is Moses Wetangula. I went to a day school,
yes,
from 1 to 4, and I agree with you that there is no difficulty at all in people succeeding through day schools. Now, some 1-2 years ago, probably 3, there was a big shake-up of teachers being uprooted from one region to another, from one county to another, in a process called delocalization. And the complaints I've been having is that this has split families, has created a lot of difficulties, especially for elderly teachers. A man of your age is uprooted from home and taken 200, 300 kilometers away without a family. You now have to live a bachelor life and so on. How has this impacted on the production from these teachers? And going forward, what would be your thoughts in how to deal with this situation? I once visited TSC, and I was told by senior officials there that they don't want to have teacher couples teaching in the same schools. Yet when you were going to school, and those days were missionary days, you found there was a white man and his wife in the same school, teaching very well without any issues and making us pass exams. What do you think we need as Kenya Kwanza government to address this issue so that teachers are not only well remunerated, but they also are comfortable in their family lives and therefore more productive?
Thank you. That's a very good question, and it's something that has been very emotive. Number one, a teacher is a national resource. A trained teacher is a national resource. I believe that the right point we wouldn't like to use the word delocalization, the right time to nationalize this teacher is at the point of employment. Because the teacher is younger, the teacher is energetic, and is ready to venture into various areas. I take myself as an example. When I graduated in 1986, my first posting was on Rusinga Island. I was a Luya there. There was no other Luya. There were Luos. So I was interacting with parents who could not even talk Kiswahili. When I became a deputy, I was forced to learn Luo, so that I'm able to communicate. But today, when I was moved to Machakos, I have now taken 4 years. I cannot communicate in Kigamba because of my age. You see? So the right point of place of nationalization is at the point of employment. The teacher will interact with the local community there. The teachers are energetic. They will venture. They will end up marrying, and it will also help in integration. So that as the teachers become older, they are moved closer home. I would feel. So that when you reach 55 years, the employer should now start thinking of taking you closer home so that you can take a rest instead of traveling very long distances. That is why, as you say, in some cases, Those who are delocalized were demoralized, and it contributed to a little bit of, it affected their performance. It is only those who maybe had an experience of working away from home that did not feel it much, though they felt it. So if we nationalize the teacher at the point of employment, it would be much better than having allowed the teacher to work at home, grown there. Then, of course, when it comes to issues of management of our institutions, then again we need to think, because the issues of management, a good manager would be available for the country. So maybe at management point, and we need to look at the age at that point of management. If you are moving somebody at the age of 55, though a good manager, that becomes a challenge psychologically, spiritually to him. But if this manager is around 40 years, you can easily move. So 2 points, at the point of employment, at level of management, but at management we look at the age. Yes.
So Mwalimu, I think that's a very important, and that you've said yourself, is a rather controversial issue. What do you think? At first, I think you have agreed that teachers or teachers are a national resource.
Yes.
So the nationalization agenda is okay.
It's okay.
But at what point is now what we need to work out?
Yes.
Right? Instead of making it punitive, can we turn it around and say a teacher who is willing to serve away from their county or their home gets an allowance for participating in the nationalization agenda?
That is
maybe that way that we can achieve the intention of creating a national teaching
without teachers, without borders.
Without borders, without necessarily making it look like punitive. Yeah.
In all fairness, it shouldn't appear that when you are moving this teacher, it shouldn't appear as a punishment.
Yes.
It should be that your services are actually now needed here. And if you are ready to take it up.
And it should be voluntary, number one,
yes.
and it should have some incentives.
It should have incentives.
Yeah, that I am willing to participate in the nationalization agenda.
Yes.
And I'm willing to teach away from home.
That is true.
Maybe we give you a special consideration.
That is true. Because if you look at the UNESCO Charter, they look at teaching and the teacher for the locality, because the teacher should understand the culture, should understand the morals of the area, So you find when he's in his own local or her own local community, they will be comfortable. So if they have to move into a new community to start interacting with a different culture, then we should incentivize that one.
So, as Kenya Kwanza,
Mike?
Is working? Okay, thank you. So your suggestion is that we should explore how we can carry out this nationalization agenda first at employment level. Secondly, we try and make it voluntary. And thirdly, we incentivize the process so that people who feel they want to participate in this national agenda, which is a very positive agenda, they can then maybe get an incentive, maybe a small stipend or an allowance, so that we can promote the same value without necessarily making it look like it is punitive.
I agree with you on those 3 points, because it will also help us ensure uniformity, because if we stick on remaining in your locality only, there are areas in this country where we have many teachers from that region. Many teachers. For example, if you pick Western Province, for example, we have very many teachers from Western. If we confine them in Western, then there are certain regions in this country that we lack teachers. So for us to share all the many teachers in Western with the others, then we will need to look at those 3 areas. I totally agree with you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yes, we come from the same village. Thank you for that. Slightly deviating. As the head of the Heads Association and a practitioner in the matters of education, there is something that is interesting. And we need to just get some clarification. What is the level of the crisis of drug abuse? Hello? Okay. What is the level of the drug abuse crisis? And 2, what measures have educational institutions been putting in place to deal with the drug menace? And 3, we have seen in the political arena, there are some people who are now masquerading on the basis that they will allow a certain form of drug to become commercialized. This is a very serious matter, I believe, but as a practitioner, what would you want to say about this, and what are the dangers that we are looking at?
Thank you very much. First of all, as I said, we have boards of management that need to be empowered to perform their mandate. One of their mandate is ensuring a disciplined institution. Today, our biggest challenge in schools, and especially secondary schools, is the issue of drug and drug abuse. And the biggest drug that is abused is cannabis, bunch. The challenge is we are not able sometimes to prove, because sometimes when you catch them even smoking and they throw it maybe in a pit latrine, you have no evidence. And the law will always ask for evidence. And that is why, as Kenya Secondary School Heads Association, we started a debate that we want random drug testing in schools. I know people don't like it, but we will need to take that bold step. Because if we can subject our sportsmen and women to random drug testing, when they are off events or within season, they are tested. And if they are found culpable, they are maybe banned for 4 years, isn't it, or more. Why are we finding it very difficult to look at our laws and change and make it mandatory? Because that is the only evidence we can have to sanction a child. But the issue of drugs is real. But we have no laws that are helping educational institutions to to fight the madness. The only thing we will have is we suspend. When we suspend, they will come back. If you want to isolate them from the school, the process is laborious. And the Education Act goes ahead and empowers the minister to ensure that all school-going children remain in school. So even when you recommend to the minister that this child needs to be isolated and taken to maybe another institution, the minister will write back and say, you readmit. Because the law also does not allow him to isolate children. What are we proposing? We have been saying we must reintroduce and build the capacity of our Boston institutions. Where this way children in drugs, the children whose discipline is just wayward, can be taken to those institutions where they can continue learning and measures of discipline are undertaken. So that we leave the regular schools to manage the regular students. Those that have already proved to be unmanageable, then the teachers have no capacity to manage them. Let them go to an institution where we have people trained to manage such students and at the same time allowed to continue. So when we recommend as principle, isolate this one from this community, we expect government to now pick that student and take that student to an institution that can now manage him better or her, but allow the students to continue learning. So that is the challenge we have been having, but it is a big problem. I know one parent asked me just recently when we were dealing with the case, and he asked me, now Mwalimu, when somebody takes over and this is going to be grown, what will you do when they smoke? I said, I'll wait until he takes over and allows people to smoke. But if he does not allow people to smoke, we shall still punish those who will smoke. Because he will only have a policy of growing, but not smoking. Thank you.
Mwalimu, sorry too long with you.
No, it's okay.
When we were growing up, there was always the disciplinary measures taken by teachers.
Yes.
The cane.
Yes.
The Children's Act outlawed the cane.
Yes.
And I keep receiving parents when I'm at home who say, Mheshimiwa, my child is looking like he's going astray. I want you to help me take this child to school for the teachers to punish him for me. And he's still looking for the cane. What are your thoughts about the levels of disciplinary measures that need to be taken? Because some of these children, when they start engaging in bad habits, testing ganja or pangia as it's called, when you arrest this situation through some form of punishment, they change. Because you can't just kick out every child who smoked ban to go to an institution when you could even have corrected them. What are your thoughts about levels of disciplining children in schools?
Thank you. The issue of discipline, I think, is very challenging today. The cane, as it was there when we went to school. But you'll agree with me also, it was sometimes wrongly used. And it ended up injuring students. And that is why it became a national conversation, international, until it was outlawed. But when the Children's Act was introduced, we failed to do one thing. We did not develop regulations to operationalize that Children's Act in learning institutions. And since there were no regulations, the teacher was left vulnerable to the act. So that even if I slapped the child or I quarreled the child, they are all classified as corporal punishment. So that has made it very difficult. And parents and the children know that I cannot be abused, I cannot be slapped, I cannot be caned. And when I'm caned, I raise it up with the Teacher Service Commission. Teacher Service Commission follows the law, you will be interdicted. So we need to first operationalize that. Secondly, the guidance and counseling issues, we are always told guide and counsel. But guidance and counseling is not one-off. It is a process. That process takes time. The teacher in charge of that department also has another teaching load. So provision of guidance and counseling services in our institutions are not to the level that is required. Because those given that responsibility have the other teaching subjects which they need to attend to. So they spare very little time, maybe at games time. That is not enough. Yeah? So it would be important that as we strengthen this guidance and counseling, maybe government can employ professionally trained guidance and counseling people attached to the school and let the teachers do their responsibility to teach the subjects they train in. But we have professional counselors within the institution.
Thank you very much, Mwalimu, for your wonderful I think the takeaway we get from you on that particular subject is maybe we need to look at the Children's Act regulations,
yes,
and to see how it can be customized in schools, yes, to help the teachers assist the students to, especially on matters of discipline, in a manner that the parents and the teachers are involved, so that we can have discipline in schools. Good. Without necessarily bringing back all the cane issues and all the other things. I think there could be other mechanisms that can be put in the regulations that can assist schools to run better, especially on matters of disciplined students.
True.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you also. It's an honor to engage with Your Excellency and with the party leaders. You know, sometimes we can wave from far, but this kind of... thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I forgot to tell you earlier that we have been given 4 minutes per speaker, so kindly we can reduce the time of speakers, but we cannot reduce the conversation between you and His Excellency. So kindly take just 4 minutes per every speaker. So the next speaker on stage is State of Debate and Recommendation, Professor Engineer Kimutai Some. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Afternoon. Your Excellency, I feel like saying number 5. Guests, I want to take over from the presenter, because when the students leave basic education, this is why I'm going to talk about TVET, university, and research. The higher education sector is the main force that drives knowledge and skill development. It does research and it does innovations. The sector has challenges that have made it not meet that full potential. It continues to grapple with inadequate number of institutions to absorb the increasing student numbers that are coming out from basic. It's also underfunded in some cases, inadequate materials, incapacitated human resource, and failing systems of governance. Looking into the future, we have the opportunity with Kenya Kwanza government to do the following. To have a vocational training center in each of our 1,450 wards. Currently, 1,200 are being built. So we need to put up the remaining 250. This will absorb the people coming from the basics. Secondly, we are looking at a technical and vocational training college in every constituency, sub-county. Right now, we are short by 52. If those are done, 290 will be in place. It is our desire to put up a national polytechnic in each county. And we think that the 12 that are there is a bigger job to do, because after the vocational training centers and the technical and vocational colleges, these are the institutions that will take them to higher levels. The Universities Act 2012 provided that government under Section 26 should have a university in each of the counties. Right now, we have 31 public universities in Kenya, which means we have a number of counties that do not have universities, and here we are asking the Kenya Kwanza administration to look at how to make this right. But in doing that, we would like to see universities focus within counties. For example, in the coast, we should have courses that are focusing on the blue economy, for example. In Turkana, for example, we should have focus on mining and other extractives that should be able to take capital of the area they are in. In the TVET zone, the Universities Act provides for technical universities. And it is indeed the wish, or was the wish of the country, to have a technical university in each of the 8 regions that were provinces before. We currently have 3. So we have an area that we need to put up 3 more. Technical universities will serve as regional incubation and innovation centers, and will really capitalize on the productions of TVET. We also have been talking, and this is been an embarrassment on Kenya, of an open university. It's almost 20-something years when the first draft was done and so forth. Countries like Tanzania and other places have come and put up them open universities. We really need to do the national open universities of Kenya. It will make it cheap, and it will allow more people beyond the age to continue doing this. We need to link what is happening in TVET with formal education through various credit transfer frameworks. These are areas that need to be worked on, and this would be very good. We envisage students from basic education, standard 1, to take whatever time they are taking, and in the secondary school to take whatever time they will be taking. This will be under discussion, but we expect at the age of 17, 18 that they are finishing school. If they finish at 17, they finish at 18, we really would like to see a national internship program for all the students that are graduating in school level, and even that are graduating from TVET and university station. This would be collaborated with, should be collaborated with industry. And we think that a team should be put up, Your Excellency, comprising of public and private sector players to drive this national internship program. We would like also to put in place legislation, policy, and budgetary to resource mobilize that will address the chronic underfunding of public institutions, particularly at the TVET and university level. We would like to transfer the governance of university, including hiring of the management level staff from the currently Public Service Commission through amending the Act, and place this together with the financial management and accountability at the university governing councils, because this is what is done the world over. We would like to restructure, we would like to propose a restructure of the higher education loans code to look like other loans code internationally that offer interest-free loans to the students, so that the take-up is high and there will be more students doing this. And we would like to ask your government, Your Excellency, that we look at a strategy of courses that will deliver a bottom-up economy in promoting STEM programs, agriculture, and other strategic courses that would come with this. This would be possible if you look at an increase towards research and development of institutions that is currently at 0.8%. And according to the Science, Technology, Innovations Act of 2013, this should be at 2% of GDP. Only 2 countries in Africa do it at 2%, South Africa and Egypt. Others are doing it at 1%. In order to meet or to look like the education that takes place in those countries, we need to up this fund. We would also like to see a restructuring and strengthening of the National Employment Authority to act as a national database to keep data on available skills, to facilitate industry, to engage with players and explore possible export of skilled manpower in the human capital. A lot of us who've been through the Middle East will see a Filipino lady who has a different passport that says she is house help, because they are the majority doing that. The Kenyan house helps don't have any recognition. This would be the body that would look at recognition. We'd also like to see the establishment of National Skills Council to work with the National Employment Authority in identifying available skills labor for both local and foreign assignments. I'm almost there. We'd like to establish linkage between higher education and policy formulation, because sometimes doing a research involves looking around you for what works and what doesn't work. We'd like to facilitate universities to institute internationalization program. We are targeting at 10% of student enrollment. Countries around us are not panacea like us. Somalia, Djibouti, Ethiopia now, South Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania. We can be a center for attracting scholars. South Africa is losing for many reasons. Let's be that reason that we can attract. Lastly, domestic teacher recruitment and deployment at all entry levels as per the UNESCO teacher deployment practice, which treats education as a cultural process conducted within a people's culture and linguistics. I think my predecessor just said this is equally applicable in the universities. As we spread universities in every county, we will come across the challenge for staff and staff deployment. Ladies and gentlemen, with all 5 minutes, as an engineer, I think I've done not too bad. I conclude. Your Excellency, just 2 small points. When I was made a CEO very early days, something called performance contract, and I see my friend Ronan Deko there, his corporation was among the first 15 pioneering institutions. It ran for a very good 10 years, and it actually improved performance. We want to note that it has not been functioning. Please restart it. Performance contracting of public institutions the world over is something that improves things. And lastly, from an economics point of view, a friend of mine in the university says, the small people are taxed a minimum tax, even when they don't break even. A big corporation is left untaxed when they don't break even. It should apply to the small people as well. Thank you.
Great, Professor. Thank you very much, Professor, for your insights. I appreciate that you have been a CEO of our university, you have been a CEO of our Commission on University Education, and your insights here already speak to that kind of experience. Let me just ask maybe one or two questions. When you say that we have, first I agree totally that we need to complete the vocational training institutions in our wards by an extra 250 and in our constituencies nationally by the other 52. In fact, we have driven this program over the last 10 years. I think we have built close to 150 new technical training colleges around. We've slowed down the last 3 years, but I think this is an exercise that we can actually conclude within 2 years. We can have all the 52 TVET institutions in our constituencies. My question is funding, or on the issue of funding. We have, the statistics I have is that using the current funding structure, our students in university, for example, they only get about 55%, both from the capitation, from the University Funding Board, and the Higher Education Loans Board. 45% is unfunded. 45% is unfunded. And that's largely what is causing the crisis in our universities. Many of our universities are actually in a funding crisis. I got a letter last week from being an alumni of Nairobi University, inviting me for a fundraising. It speaks to the kind of crisis we have in our universities. And as a result of that crisis, of course, universities are finding ways of how to complete the course, minus certain things, and it leads to cutting corners, and finally we end up with not very complete students. Now, what are your thoughts? What is your experience having been a manager of a university? We have tried many ways. We now have Universities Funding Board, TVET Funding Board, Higher Education Loans Board. What is the experience in other countries? What would your experience tell us? So as Kenya Kwanza, what would you recommend that we do?
Thank you for the question. I think this question was like 12 years ago. I was privileged to chair the task force that looked at higher education. And we talked to 38 education attaches in Kenya who are education attaches. They came, we discussed with them, and we were keen to know how are they funding their universities specifically. And also we follow for TVET, because TVET's structure was not proper at that time. And we discovered something called unit cost. What is a unit cost of a program in 1 year? Let's take medicine, for example. We scan in the US, 1 year medical student is paying the equivalent of 1.7 million Kenyan shillings. Right now, a private student enrolled in our medical program at Nairobi or Moi is paying close to 700,000 shillings, 0.7 million. So the unit cost in the US versus the unit cost in Kenya, because we try to charge unit cost to private students, there is a difference of 1 million shillings. So we're getting 1 million shilling less doctor. We're not exposing them to real food because the funds are not available to go into higher level machinery, higher level training, and so forth. Differentiated unit cost means different unit costs for different programs. So that engineering in Kenya is about 500,000 shillings per year, and so forth. Education is about 275. We came up with a program of about 26 cluster courses that we used in the whole joint admissions board, but now it is at course. Your government should look at this. It's in the law. Differentiated unit cost should be the basis for charging training in the university. Who pays that money should be partly the government, the student, parents, some scholarships, whatever it comes. But there is a counter to this, and this is what I believe people are not ready to do. Discipline, differentiated remuneration. The salary we pay for teaching should follow the discipline. We've not implemented that. We pay every professor the same salary, whether you go to class or not. If you go to the US, professors are scampering to get a course to teach because they're paid on the discipline. They are remunerated on the disciplines they do. So if I put in 10 hours a day in the US, I'll earn 10 times the guy who is putting in 1 hour. This is the painful part. And I think we have to come to a common area to do it. The second area is to do a sieve for those who are not able to pay. So we do this by scholarship. We give scholarship for the best. You know, we look at the performance in schools, and we really look at government supporting. The government fund can be structured so that it pays for the best. And also the ones that are unable to do. There's a lot of happenings the world over on how university is funded and how university is improved. And I think we also need, and we saw this in the way we were looking at, we have surplus students in certain courses that are not going for employment. For once, and I know the teachers have just spoken, we are training almost 7 times the teachers we need. TSC right now, I don't know, they're employing about 6 years ago, 5 years ago, because we're not matching the demand to the supply. This is an area we need. We also have areas that we really are in demand, but there isn't funds to do. So there's a lot of balancing to be done, but we must do it. That 2% of GDP was intended in the task force that I chaired, that it would be 3 ways. 1, for research. You could go to the research institutions like Gary, Cambridge. 2, for research training, which is what South Africa are doing. All their postgraduate students come from, their scholarships come from that research fund. And the 3rd one, innovations. Innovations are in the domain of TVET. So 1/3 goes to TVET, 1/3 goes to universities, 1/3 goes to research institutions.
Okay. Professor, I like the point you made about differentiated unit cost. That's actually the basis upon which we are sharing the current basket. Unfortunately, for a course like the one you mentioned, medicine, which is supposed to cost 700, we are providing something like 270,000. So there is a whole another almost 300,000 that is not funded. And so the university is not even spending, forget about the 1.7. Even on the 700, they are not even spending that 700. They are forced to spend something like 350, which is almost half, to train these students. Do you have any thoughts in maybe looking at exactly what you've said so that we can have a central funding mechanism that looks at what is the requirement, how many doctors do we fund, how many people in this discipline do we fund, and if you want to go into a discipline that we do not need immediately, then you will have to either fund it yourself or it is funded at a lower level. Do you think there is an option of us merging University Funding Board, Tibet Funding Board, and HELP, and making it a body that can fund higher education so that it can carry on board some of the issues you have raised, so that they can fund differently different courses on the basis of how expensive it is, and secondly, we don't fund courses that we already have excess personnel in those courses, in those areas, and therefore we are funding people who may not necessarily get any jobs for that moment because we already have too many people in that space. Do you think that's an option?
Your Excellency, what you are saying has two solutions to it. The first solution is how are we teaching our medical students at 350 instead of 700? The training in the US, sorry, I keep moving on. The training in the US is one member of a medical team teaching 4 students. That's how the 1.7 million is actually spent. Here we do the math in reverse. We get a teacher to teach 12 students. So for the same course of 3 times, we increase the numbers of students. And of course, we don't get the same product. That's really the problem. And that's academic. The academicians must be able to do this. But coming to what I said before, point number 15, we need to restructure the National Employment Authority so that they are the ones who say, how many teachers do we need in the next 10 years? Year 1, year 2 to year 10. And then the universities can be told, this is the funding we'll give you for teacher training. Right now, the government is giving us in the university more money for the students of education, business, and others, whereas if we actually projected the needs of these people, would be good. We also say establish a national skills council, because there are new skills that are not even covered and they are so critical. And so we are losing out. We are always trying to catch up with those countries who are predicting what are the new skills and funding new skills. But having part of the government saying, who do we want in our skills as a database? Who have we trained? Is the way forward.
Okay, I think you have you've persuaded me on the issue of a national skills council. But where does that sit with the Kenya Qualifications Authority? Isn't that can we improve the Kenya National Qualifications Authority to also give us that service, or do we need an entirely new body?
The Skills Council used to be a ministry for a long time. Ministry of Manpower, Ministry of it kept changing names. Because the National Qualifications Authorities are parastatal, it cannot say what ministries are having in terms of their manpowers and everything. It has to be domesticated in a ministry, which can give direction to all employers to say who they have and what do they need next year, 5 years. So somebody has to be doing that continuously. The National Skills Council will be domesticated in the ministry to share share the information and to go on with it. This is the practice in a lot of countries, particularly in South Africa. They have that process through a ministry, and they liaise very closely to the Ministry of Education. Manpower training is the end of the training, is the end of the schools, the end of the university. We hand them to the manpower. So the manpower training ministry must be able to say that.
Prof, just a quick one. At the end of the day, this is about raising resources and engineering our public financial arrangement. What can you say about, because at the end of the day, let us be honest to each other, that the government cannot cover everything. To what extent do you think we can have a public-private partnership arrangement beyond what we may be having now to help in meeting the requirements of education at those different levels at this point in time? Two, if you can maybe dovetail the higher education and also the basic in this context, just very quickly.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting. I'm a former student of Strathmore when it was the A-level class, and I followed Strathmore as a university. Strathmore has 12 programs successfully running and so on. In fact, in some programs, like there are no programs, they cannot take certain number, and the demand is like 3-4 times. University of Nairobi, on the other side, has 290 programs. Okay. So, and they need to provide for each of these 290 in a very similar way as Strathmore is offering for 12 programs. So there's a lot of rationalization that needs to be done. But that's not my point. My point is PPP. If you look at the program Strathmore has, they've just started a program now on intellectual property, and IBM is coming as a partner, and they're meeting almost 70% of the costs and so on. It is possible if you're doing something good to attract a partner to come in and work with you. And we have some public universities that are actually successful in attracting a partner to engage in the program. PPP is about outcomes. The student you produce will go and create funds, create resources for that institution that is helping the institution. That's what needs to be looked into, and that will work out. If I look at Western province, forgive me, I'm old enough to say a province, sugar industry. What happened to sugar industry and education? So we need to incentivize from the university level to Tibet institutions and so forth. We work in what the industry is working. That's how PPP comes in.
Professor, I think you have spoken, if I may, authoritatively on some of the issues, and I think it will help us in crafting the charter that will help us shape the education, especially higher education. Maybe just by way of conclusion, when you speak to the subject of open university, we are largely thinking about access, is it? Because it's largely virtual. It's rather cheaper to run an open university. As Minister for Higher Education, I almost actually launched the open university. We had done everything. There was remaining very few steps, and we were going to ask President Kibaki to launch it. Unfortunately, we missed that opportunity. And as you say, I think it is 20 years plus in discussions about open university. In fact, in many countries, the largest university is always the open university. I'm told, for example, in India it has close to 1 million students. In South Africa, maybe 300-400 students. So, and this not only improves access, it also makes it easier for people who cannot go to university, maybe they are 50, 60, but they can still go to university even later in life because it's flexible, it is, and it's cheaper. What would it take from where you sit for us to launch the Open University?
I think the Open University is a done deal. When we were looking at this 2010, we had even the cabinet memo ready to go out. We had identified multimedia at that time to host it and so forth. The Open University of Mexico has a student population now of 3.7 million. Indira Gandhi University of India has a student population currently of 1.6 million. Open University of Tanzania, which took our document, is the largest university in Tanzania with student population close to 500,000. UNISA, the Open University of South Africa, is very close to 800,000. These are people who did not go to university because of COVID. I can tell you COVID now is driving Open University through the roof. Because nobody else wants to go to class, you can sit in your room. Harvard, for example, has opened the latest Open University for science. There's a student of an athlete in Eldoret, and I've gone to sit down. They start class at 5 p.m. in the evening, because that's when it's 8 o'clock there. They sit until 2 a.m. Real life teacher is teaching and so forth. Open University is now. So, Your Excellency, we give you 90 days. Launch it.
90 days it is, Professor. 90 days it is. Thank you very much for your thoughts.
His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellencies, the Deputy Party Leaders, and my fellow education stakeholders. I am Akwalu Victor Mugambi. I'm the Chapter Chairman of Meru University of Science and Technology. And before I invite the next speaker, I have a small request to make. In the universities that we work in, there is a lot of inequalities. Some staff members are at the bottom, and in some other universities they are at the top, or maybe again they are up. And cognizant of the bottom-up economic approach and the Kenya Kwanza bottom-up philosophy, it would be fair if the staff members who are at the bottom were also brought up as in other universities. We request that we have harmonization of our medical cover in the universities. We have harmonization of our workload in the universities. And we also request that in these universities we have harmonization of our basic pay and our responsibility allowances. And at that point, it is my pleasure to invite the next speaker, a distinguished unionist, our former national chairman, Professor Kubasu Kwasha.
our Honorable Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and our 5th President from August this year, party leaders, all protocol observed. I'll be very brief because coincidentally, I think Professor has talked on several things I had planned to talk about. But before that, I want to say, Honorable Deputy President, that here we have members of university academic staff from all public universities, because they support you. They believe in the bottom-up approach in elevating the living standards of Kenyans. These members were mobilized. We have formed a group where we have Chairman Dominic Murage, maybe just wave, and Secretary Mokaka Nyamberi. And at this juncture, probably for the sake of our incoming president, I will ask all the teaching staff of our universities in Kenya to rise up so that you can see the support. Thank you very much. And I want to restate that it is not long since we paid a courtesy call to you that actually emphasizes the fact that we are together with the incoming government of Kenya Kwanza. Because I've said several things have already been given by my brother, Professor Some, who was the Vice Chancellor when I was National Chairman of the Union. I'll add a few things. Your Excellency. First and foremost, one of the things that we have not emphasized in the presentation is the underfunding of the universities. The underfunding of the universities is clearly, there are a lot of queries. There are a lot of queries in the allocation of the funding of public universities vis-a-vis private universities. And probably we need to look at the policy. So that whilst if the government is able to fund all universities, but priority should be given to public universities, because this is where we get the really bottom people, as my colleague has said. We also want to suggest that university courses are implemented after thorough scrutiny and passing through Senate. It is our proposal that all courses that have been recommended in universities because of various ways they'll be utilized in the development of this nation should be funded. All of them should be funded because they are approved through RICAs and looking at their relevance to the development of this nation.
When you say, Professor, when you say Senate, you mean University Senate or the National Senate?
The University Senate, sorry. The University Senate. I want to add a few things to what Professor said. Especially on grants to science and technology.
Sorry again.
I want to add.
Sorry, Prof. Again, just are you saying, for example, that there are courses in universities that are taught without approval of Senate? Is that possible?
No.
Okay. So you're just saying.
I was just emphasizing the fact that
the Senate should be much more intense in assessing.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the addition. I wanted to add on the point of the Kenya Kwanza administration offering grants for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In addition to the government should consider establishing science parks in science and technology and innovation. Science parks in developed nations and those are developed nations drive research and innovation. I think these are not very popular in Kenya, and our proposal is the coming government should consider establishing science parks, even if it is just one, which will coordinate, which will store the information that comes out from science and technology. Another point I wanted to add on increasing funding towards research is that the incoming government should develop reward system to motivate research and innovation. I think we have done very badly in previous governments. Even during the rewards, the national rewards, where people are given honors, very few researchers are honored. I think we need to change priority, where the really innovation should be rewarded. For instance, we don't consider kideri eating an innovation worth rewarding. So we need serious innovations to be rewarded by the system. Another point I want to add on the establishment of National Skills Council, the National Skills Council. The National Skills Council establishment is extremely important because we believe that this could develop skilled labor or manpower for export, because we can have skilled manpower developed for export so that we can earn foreign exchange from exporting skilled manpower from Kenya. So this is an important thing that the incoming government should consider. Probably I can repeat that one because the Deputy President, who is our incoming 5th President, has come. That we are proposing that under the establishment of Skills Council, we should identify our trained skilled experts for export to other countries, so that it can earn us foreign exchange. In addition to that, facilitating universities to institute internationalization programs, as was reported. I wish to add that this is important for transfer of technology. Technology, again I want to say, appropriate technology is homegrown. And I want to emphasize on the fact of universities in areas where we have various activities that can be improved to generate more funds. For example, as you concentrate on blue economy in Mombasa and the drilling and exploration in Turkana, you can also focus on Kakamega County, where we have a lot of activities that, if we make them by developing maybe special schools to give students to the institutions there. For example, if we had a course in music, maybe under music, but emphasize on Isukuti. Yeah, we can make it refined so that it earns us more income. Bullfighting there is very important, that is untapped. If we had an institution that will have special course that will develop that culture, it will be very important. In Eastern Kitui, I'm just trying to emphasize, Kitui County, we have natural honey farming, which can also be improved through a course in universities there. We can also put in our curriculum in universities in Eastern Province to tap into the traditional medicine activities within the Eastern Provinces. Well, Deputy President, I think you understand the situation where I find myself when you are prepared certain things and they are represented, then you become empty. But because a sharp mind cannot be empty all the time, I have added those issues that we think if this government considers them, they can help us to improve the development of this nation. They can help us to industrialize this nation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor. I think you have spoken to the critical issue that was also spoken to the previous speaker on internationalization, of our universities.
Yes.
And what would that take? I thought internationalization would require maybe the universities to provide for scholarships, maybe, or in what form would that take?
Here we are thinking, one, about high-level exchange programs that may involve even the members of teaching staff, to have policy within the government that creates exchange programs, both of the teaching staff as well as the students. The importance of this, as I emphasized, is that there is no technology that is not imported. Many of the newly developed nations have imported technology by borrowing. There is very little originality in a lot of technology. So technology transfer will be one of the important aspects we'll gain from such an exchange program. Probably it could be embedded within the government policies. Yeah? And the follow-up, I agree with you, will be by the universities.
Thank you very much. I don't know what thoughts you have, Professor, on the internship program. The previous speaker, who you share the same platform, mentioned that maybe we should have a 1 or 2 year internship program for all our TVET and university graduates. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I support him. I support him on that one. One is because it exposes our students on first-hand experience in their line of duty. And it makes them more grounded in performance than when they come freshly from the colleges and then you post them to perform. That is one. Secondly, I believe that internship with a stipend will make the students interested in pursuing all courses and not specific ones. For example, most students will prefer medicine, apart from the fact that people think medicine is more superior. They also know that there is internship that goes along with a stipend, and this will motivate the students to go for all courses. Maybe one last point I had forgotten is there is a lot of unrest within the learning institutions in Kenya in the last few years, and I think this is what we have been dealing with my friend Soshon. This unrest within institution of higher learning can be arrested. When we visited you, we put up a proposal. A lot of these unrests oscillate around pay. And if you have heard, a lot of speakers, especially from institutions here, have been emphasizing something on pay. We were proposing that the government can benchmark various job groups with other international countries on what they pay. If you put our workers at the same levels of payment with others from comparable states, this unrest can go. Because if you pay these workers sufficiently enough, there will be a lot of stability within our workforce. Our thinking was this: you remove me from classroom and make me a permanent secretary without any further training, and immediately I earn 1 million shillings. We were thinking that this 1 million shillings can make a lot of sense if we earn it wherever we are working. We earn it wherever we are working, so that you don't wait until you are fished from where you are working to earn what you are supposed to earn. Because we believe that the government is paying these people what they are paying them because of their qualification. Which qualification we have, even where we are. We came here, an example, for the Deputy President, of people who are taken from classroom and made ministers. When you come from classroom and made a minister with the classroom qualifications, you have not had any other further training. It means you can earn that salary in classroom. So with this, think about this, and it can work very well. So that we don't wait to be ministers to earn what we are supposed to earn because of qualification. Yeah. This will make people settled. Yeah, because when you keep the money in the pocket, research will improve, a lot of commitment, productivity will go up, and then you'll have a lot of peace when you are running this country, when there are no strikes. Yeah, because I know strikes, my brother, they are coordinated. You can have strikes from nursery to university, and this can ground the government. So think about paying people what they are supposed to be paid while they are where they are, because the production will be high. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mwalimu.
Yeah.
Just using the same reasoning.
Yeah.
Is it the case then that maybe the other way to look at it is if you pick somebody from the classroom and you take them to be a minister, and they have not done any other training, then they should continue earning what they were earning.
But now the government has seen the sense of paying them what they are paying. Then it seems like the government is aware of the fact that that is the salary he is supposed to have earned when he was where he was. Because when you are moving to another job, I think we believe you are moving horizontally. Yes, so if your horizontal movement places you where I'm standing and I find another salary there, that means you are underpaying me where I was. So when I come here, now you put me to the actual salary. So we are saying that put us on that actual salary when we are still there, and then we move with that salary where I am.
I think you've made your case.
Yeah.
You've made your case.
Thank you.
I would really appreciate some help, either from you or whether we have any people here from Tibet on the real difference between the Skills Council that is being proposed and the Kenya National Qualifications Authority. I would really appreciate some thoughts around there. Do we have somebody from Tibet here who can speak to that?
The Task Force 2010 created the National Skills Council because it would cut across the 4 education sectors, from basic to TVET to universities to post-university research. It is a custody. It's just that if Moi University graduates 10,000 students this year, that number should go to the National Skills Council, because then they will have a database of who has graduated. We would not have all these court cases happening if we had kept that database throughout, because this is what Kenya is producing. So, but it would not have mandate to institutions. What he's saying and what we were saying, you need a body that has mandate in the institutions to direct what they should graduate. National Skills Council will direct. This year, as government, we are going to support 4,000 teachers. This is the funds that we will pay for them, whatever they will be, as opposed to say paying for 20,000 now that have joined all the universities. The Skills Council will have that mandate. The qualifications framework is a repository of qualifications at all levels, so that they are able to look at the levels that the country already has. It's a repository.
Okay. So, the Skills Council, in your opinion, is different from the Kenya Qualifications Framework?
The Skills Council in a lot of countries, particularly Europe and so forth, will say the government, the country, needs the following expertise.
Yes.
And they will put out the fees for those expertise. Instead of saying we will fund all the Bachelor of Arts students, they will say we will fund this many because we projected the employment of this cadre will be like this. It's an authority rather than a repository.
Okay. Well, how will that work with Higher Education Loans Board? How will that work with University Funding Board, Tibetan Funding Board? Where will those sit?
In my own personal opinion, the University Funding Board, the Tibetan Funding Board, and the National Research Fund should be merged. It is one pocket, and Parliament actually said so when we were in Nairobi. We had wanted to say 1% University Funding Board, 1% Tibetan Funding Board, 1% research. They said 3% is too high, it would have been the highest in Africa. The other countries are 2%, so it's 2% for the 3. It should be merged and be seen to be doing the same work. But to come back, the Skills Council in a lot of countries are called the Ministry of Labor. The ministry also should be in that to decide what labor does the country need now and in the future, and therefore be able to direct resources to generate that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now, the next speaker is the Strategic Intervention Programs, Madam Martha Amolo.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Dr. William Ruto, the party leaders, stakeholders present, good afternoon. Good afternoon once more. Yeah, so I must say I'm proud to be here, and I'm happy that I'm breaking the monotony. We have been seeing voices of the men, and now a woman is here. My name is Martha Omolo. I am a teacher in Trans Nzoia, Cheptumbelio Primary School. I am a mother, I'm a mentor, I'm a counselor, and above all, I am a unionist, having been the Assistant Executive Secretary, NAT Nairobi branch at some time. So I'm going to speak on strategic intervention programs, and you'll all agree with me that majority of school-going children are in marginalized regions. We also acknowledge that gender and disability are a critical determinant in the access, retention, and progression of education in our society. So, Your Excellency, we are proposing, therefore, because of these reasons, two reasons that I have given, that one, we provide, I know people will say it's already provided, but the incoming government should provide sanitary towels to girls in these regions. And the question is, which have also been asked as we talk about the marginalized regions, then the boy child will ask you, what are you giving us? Number two, we are talking of 100% of teenage mothers to go back to school after delivering their children, so that they can benefit from the education bursary, 100%. Because most times you find, if the father was paying the school fees, atamambia wewe ulishajifungua, I will not pay. So they should benefit from the 100%, they should benefit 100% from the education bursary. Number three, which I really wish to emphasize, because we have teachers in those regions, sometimes they wake up and they have no children to teach. Why? The conditions there have forced the children to move away. So we are recommending the construction of low-cost boarding schools in arid and semi-arid areas. Your Excellency would also recommend that we develop a framework on multidisciplinary approach to assess, place, and support learners with special needs and disabilities, different disabilities. And therefore, the people in this room, I will request that we also change our attitude towards these learners. Number five, Your Excellency, we are recommending that we double the school feeding program. For example, if it is 2 million, make it 4 million, and even give some grants to the ECD. Before we even reach the arid areas, having taught in Nairobi for 24 years, I'll tell you that this school feeding program is important because it helps to retain learners in schools. You find that a learner will come to school not because of any other thing, but because they are able to get the food which is provided, the school feeding program. Your Excellency, I would also wish to say that we need, as teachers and learners, as an earlier speaker said here, conducive and safe learning environment. security in these security-prone areas. And when I talk about security in those prone areas, allow me, we're told it is only 4 minutes, but I'll request on affirmative action to be added a few minutes. So I would like to present to you, and Your Excellency, I want this teacher to be upstanding. Nelson Kirui, the only Kirui that I know. Now, Mr. Kirui was punitively transferred. He is the gentleman who received his letter outside the hospital when the wife was in the maternity theater. When he reached his new destination, this place was not safe. What am I saying? That we need security in such areas. So for that reason, he was not able to risk his life. He came back, did not report back, and therefore was interdicted. So Kirui is serving an interdiction for not going to a security area. So teachers and learners require conducive and safe environments. Finally, we are talking about teachers and in education policies and their social dialogues. We are talking about Chapter 41 of the labor laws. And here you will allow me to divert a bit. I wish to divert because I am a mother, and when a mother does not take care of the welfare of the others, then you cease to be a mother. So we cannot talk about orienting or re-engineering education without looking at the welfare of teachers. So this is where I want all of us to come together, talk to us, ask questions. As I will be winding up, I will give 3 instances. So one, we are talking about the welfare of the teacher, where policies are introduced and the teacher has got no voice. We have teachers who have gone back to school. They have their degrees. Your Excellency, I want to believe you did not become a doctor. You went back to school to get the doctorate. You had an undergraduate, you went for your master's, and you became a doctor. The same way a sweeper in an institution will take time to learn, and then at the end of the day we find that that sweeper becomes the director of that institution. So teachers have taken their time to go back to school, and we are saying that they should be promoted on that basis. When an employer says that today I'm not recognizing your degree, I want you to go back to school for 30 years, and without promotion, Your Excellency, I think our new government under your leadership should do away with that. Number 2, we are talking about Chapter 41 of the labor movements. Now today, we will not go on strike because of money. Today, we will go on strike because of policies that are not allowing us to be effective in our work. Policies that will require you to do clerical duties. Policies that will want you to be away from your family. And policies that are intimidating. I wish to bring to your attention, maybe if you didn't know, or maybe you know, just to remind you, that when issues come up and there are education involved, teachers should be involved. Why am I saying this? Previously, when CBC came, we are not saying it is a bad curriculum, but we are saying that when teachers were not satisfied and they raised their voices, 247 were interdicted. Out of the 247, 9 died, and as we speak, about 42 have not been reinstated. So we want an environment where we are allowed to speak, we are allowed to talk in policy formulation. So that is that part where our voices need to be heard. And I wish to bring to your attention that when we have unions, unions are not there to fight the government. They are there to agree with the government for the better welfare of the workers. So as I speak this afternoon, I don't know if our NAT, our CUPET was invited, and if they are there, then they are silent. They are silent. They are not speaking for the Kenyan teacher. So for that reason, a pressure group came up, led by myself. Fortunately or unfortunately, we spoke up against punitive policies, resulting in our punitive transfers. Because I'm calling it punitive, if it is not punitive, why was a government vehicle driven to my small school, to a classroom teacher, to deliver the transfer letter? So we don't want punitive policies in the education sector. Last but not least, I know I have a lot to speak, and this education forum, Your Excellency, I would request that teachers should visit you. Unfortunately, it is a working day. I'm even scared. Maybe from here I'll not be having my job. Because we are not supposed to be here on a working day, though I'm having a permission. But somebody may change the story simply because I'm in Kenya Kwanza. So what I'm saying as I wind up, our first speaker talked about it. And Mr. Indimuli, I appreciate you for talking about it. There is this animal, the big elephant in the house, delocalization. I'm going to give you 3 instances, and I'm going to give my own example where we are together, and because of the nature of the other spouse's job, he's already delocalized, working at the border of Kenya and Somalia. And so we agree as a family, but since my job does not allow me to be in one station, remain behind, take care of the children, when I have an off, I'll be coming. Then TSC wakes up and says, because you spoke against us, you spoke against this policy, we are taking you to the border of Kenya and Uganda, where the children left, with no father, with no mother. So this is a teacher whose salary is on loan and has to maintain 4 homes. Why am I saying 4 homes? I'm in Mount Elgon. My spouse is at the border of Kenya and Somalia. My children are in Nairobi because I have a candidate that I cannot move because he's already registered, and I have a rural home to take care. So even in Mount Elgon, I doubt if I'm effective. The second instance is of a teacher. So when I give my own example, I'm speaking for hundreds of thousands of other teachers. The second instance is a teacher who has been working for the commission for more than 3.5 decades. Today, she goes to the hospital using a medical cover that has been initiated by the employer. She is misdiagnosed, she is overdosed. Because of those 2 reasons, her condition moves from hypo to hyper, life-threatening. When she raises that issue, she is transferred to the border of Kenya and Tanzania. And this teacher, in her previous school, she lives 200 meters away from the school, where she cannot even walk. She uses a taxi. So today you are telling her to go and struggle that other end of the republic. And we are feeling the commission is not keeping to its policy of taking care of the age, taking care of the health. Last but not least, as I sit down, and just as I've said, we need time to talk to you and the Kenya Kwanza government as teachers. A teacher is taken from Murang'a, and the teacher is taken to Narok South. The husband is taken from Murang'a and is taken to Masinga. Masinga is in Machakos, yes? And so what happens? The teacher goes to class and leaves the baby. She has gone to take care of the Kenyan children and has left her child in the house. So she gets a call to come back home. Your Excellency, I want you to picture this. When she gets home, she finds the neighbor's dogs have mauled her baby. So this is a teacher who is working for Kenyan children, but is unable to take care of the child. Next, she goes on maternity leave and decides that since my baby has gotten a mark, let me leave the baby with my mother-in-law. So she goes on maternity leave and comes back to report to work, only to find everything in her house is gone. Hana hata sufuria. Your Excellency, when your government comes in, we want you to look at such policies. This is killing the teachers. She was with the baby at the education office, trying to plead with the officers to take her back to her town, or even to allow her to go and join the husband. And the baby was crying. And I told her, why don't you breastfeed the baby? And she told me, Mwalimu, stress, hata maziwa imekauka. So, Your Excellency, Kenya Kwanza government, as we reorient and re-engineer the education sector, without the teachers' welfare, then we will be doing nothing. Thank you very much. We have been sitting for long before you asked me the question. I would love everybody to stand up as a teacher so that maybe we just rejuvenate. Yeah. Yes, kidogo. Yeah. And I am a teacher of music, and I'm going to teach us the musical club. And so when we rejuvenate, then Your Excellency, you can ask questions. And if there are no questions, I'll be glad to sit down. So the musical club is Kalabanda. Yeah, when I say Kalabanda, you do 1, 2, 3, okay? Kalabanda, Kalabanda, Señorita. Yeah, that one continues now on and on like 6 or 7 times. Kalabanda, Kalabanda, Señorita. Thank you very much. And I am a great manifestation of bottoms up. Today, the classroom teacher is talking to the people at the top, not to the people at the top. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Maureen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your presentation. I've just 2 small questions. Number 1, I asked my friend in Limuli, but he scattered around and didn't answer it. The splitting of teacher families. Wewe ni mama, wanako ni mwalimu, you are teaching the same school, and you are split and sent to different directions.
Yes.
Does it affect your performance as teachers?
Yes.
Number 2, or rather, is there any handicap in your performance in being a couple in the same school?
The answer to question 1 is yes. When we are separated, there is a lot of problems, and I'll give an example. I want to mention here in this forum that the National Pressure Group did their research, and between December 23rd and March 22nd, 22 teachers had committed suicide.
Because of separation.
Because of separation. And the worst of that, I know death is death, but the one that touched our hearts was of this lady teacher who killed herself alongside her daughter. Why? The husband is working away, she's working away. Na hii mwili ni mwili tu, si ndio? Si itataka iko na joto. So she ended up, or whatever happened, and it happened that the baby, the man discovered that the baby hakukuwa wake, alikuwa wa mtu huko. So how does she solve the problem? She kills herself alongside the baby. So 3 were head teachers, 2 were deputies, and the rest were teachers.
Thank you. We'll look into that. The last one.
Yes, sir.
I support affirmative action for the girl child. I have daughters, I have sons. But I get this distinct impression that the boy child is now neglected and is not talked about and is being left behind. What are your thoughts?
And that is why when I was giving our first recommendation, I said, we give sanitary towels to the girls, which has been there, but Kenya Kwanza should continue with it. But there is this question, as I'm distributing these pads in the classroom, then the boys asked me, teacher, na sisi unatupea nini? So can we also take care of the boy child? Maybe boxers? As we give the pads, we give boys boxers. Yeah, Kenya Kwanza maybe will be the first government to take care of this boy child, so that your violence wako nayo kidogo ipunguke. Thank you.
Okay, Mwalimu.
Yes, sir.
I think you have spoken with a lot of clarity and example on what delocalization is doing to families.
Yes.
So your recommendation, what do you think of what we are suggesting? We are suggesting that teachers are a national resource. They should be able to teach everywhere. But maybe we should do the nationalization at the employment, at the point of employment. And then subsequently, we can also make it possible for teachers to teach outside their counties or localities, and maybe provide an incentive for that. What do you think about that? Do you think that will solve the challenge we have that is currently causing havoc with the families on the matter of delocalization?
Your Excellency, I want to agree with you that just as the first speaker said, I was very keen on that because I'm affected, I'm a victim. Teachers are a national resource, and they should be able to work, just as the speaker said, at the point of employment, at the point of management. But my opinion is, am I willing? Because I've seen that, you see, when you give me that incentive, am I willing? There is need for me to apply, that I want to go and work in Turkana. Because if I go to Turkana, there is something that comes with it. It should not be punitive, it should not be forced. It should not be meant to look like somebody is misusing power and abusing the offices that they hold. By using that, because for the 18 cases, it was used as a punishment. And now that you have brought it, Your Excellency, immediately you get into office, please take us back to our station so that we can be effective.
Thank you very much. And so it shall be. Secondly,
Yes, sir.
you've spoken exhaustively about the relationship between teachers and their employer.
Yes, sir.
and what seems to be a stick and stick relationship.
Yes, sir.
That if you don't do this, we do this. If you don't do this, you do this. So so your suggestion is that we need to normalize relations between the teachers' unions and the employer and promote a greater understanding between these two entities.
Yes.
And we should not punish teachers for speaking their mind.
Yes.
In the formal setup of what is provided for in the law, the teachers' unions and the other industrial players.
Yes.
And which I quite support, because it's a constitutional provision, it's an international provision that teachers are allowed. It's a constitutional guaranteed right to be part of a union. So, what would be the form in your suggestion? What would we do as government? Teacher Service Commission is an independent commission. What do you think we should do to make sure that we improve the relationship between teachers and their employer?
Thank you, sir. And before I answer that question, I wish to ask, how independent is independent? Yeah, how independent is independent? Is it independent to frustrate the workers? So, in my opinion, as it stands now, teachers are professionals. And professionals cannot have several voices speaking on their behalf. So one, we need one union. A union that is not compromised. A union that will speak for the teachers, not for the employer. A union that will be led by teachers. Because as it stands now, I'm sorry to say, our unions, most of the officials are head teachers. Na huwezi kutuma mbuzi kwa koti ya fisi. Definitely, they will eat the mbuzi. So, as I stand here, myself and other teachers have made several applications for unions, and we are receiving negative reports. So what I want us to do is to have a working relationship. Let us, as an employer, the employer should not go personal. If I have wronged the employer, this is a union serving the others. They should not go personal. So we should discuss the issues of those bodies we are representing. That is my opinion. And it will be very wrong, colleague teachers who are present, that today we are discussing the welfare of teachers. And I failed to mention one, Honorable Sosion. We miss you. We miss you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So maybe just by way of asking, I thought the leadership of the union is elected by teachers. So where is the disconnect? Because you seem to be saying the union as it is now is speaking more for the employer than for the teachers.
Yes.
Is that the case?
Because I will clarify. They came on a platform where they were conditioned. And so for them to have the taps opened, they had to withdraw everything. So we are looking at that union as a union that is speaking for themselves because of money. They're not speaking for teachers. They withdrew all the cases, and that's why you are having this tussle of TPD. Because TPD had been stopped in court. And immediately it was withdrawn, it was rolled out. And what was the feeling of the teachers? Mr. President, let me call you so. How would you feel if today you go back home and you found Mama Rachel in your house, on your bed, with another man? That is exactly what teachers felt when we saw our union leaders accompanying the employer to roll out TPD. So what did we say? They are romancing the employer on the teacher's matrimonial bed. So, teachers, representatives should not be compromised, should speak for the teachers, and if TSC is independent, they should be able to work with anybody who is elected in that office. And I would also wish to let you know, why we have so many head teachers in those offices, they have the financial muscle. So if I go there, you know politics ya walimu sio kama hii unaenda juu ya gari. We do our politics in the staff room. So if I can buy more milk and bread in that staff room, I'll be elected. And if I only have a cup of tea, which is very long, you know in Luyaland where I'm married, when the tea is very long, they don't like it. So if you go in a staff room and you give very long tea, you might just miss the votes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maureen.
Indeed, Madam Kalabanda has made us proud, and she has made us awake. For the ones who were behind there, they were asleep, but now everyone is awake. Thank you, Madam. Your Excellency, before we finish, I kindly ask 1 minute of your time to call Dr. Murage Dominic, who is the chair of lecturer. Just 1 minute, I will not go away. I will just be standing here. Just 1 minute.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I've just come here to emphasize on only one thing. I've received calls, Your Excellency, from our lecturers in Egerton. There's a crisis in higher education, Your Excellency. As we speak now, Egerton University, they are getting 57% of their pay every month. Can you imagine? Why? Because of what Professor talked about capitation. There's a crisis in higher education. The formula which was talked about, the DUC, differentiated unit cost, is not properly applied because it does not cater for a postgraduate student. It only assumes that the universities are there teaching undergraduate student. Therefore, nobody is funding the postgraduate student through the formula. So, Your Excellency, when you come in the next 1 month or so, please check that. Otherwise, our universities are going to grab into a halt because there is a huge crisis. We are not talking about it. The country is like, it's okay. The Auditor General, you must have seen, he has already said that most of public universities are technically insolvent. It's all over, and it's like, it is okay. Nobody is even speaking about it. So please, look at the funding in our universities. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Your Excellency, all protocol observed. We say thank you for giving chance the teachers and the lecturers to have given their views. Now, Your Excellency, it's my time to welcome Mheshimiwa Moses Wetangula to carry on with the remaining program. Welcome, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, our incoming President, Sion, and all the leaders in the education sector here present. It has been a very rich, interactive, informative, and educative session. I want to salute all of you here, particularly those of you in public employment, like Ndimuli and Mother, for taking courage to come here, because there are forces of regression out there that would not want you to interact with us. That you have been here to talk to us and engage with us is a patriotic and courageous act that we salute you. But all this will be over in a very short while. Excellency, yesterday I traveled from Eldoret with one gentleman who heads a sector that came to see you. And he showed me messages of extreme intimidation from a very senior officer in the office of the president. And I'm sure it would happen to many of you. But it's never for the faint-hearted. We have to be courageous, we have to be committed for us to cross the Rubicon. And once you cross the Rubicon in the Roman days, you either came back with victory or you died there. So we've crossed the Rubicon and we must come back with victory. Education is key to the growth and modernization of any country. And in Kenya, we are proud that we have a very strong human resource development. What we need is to engineer how to put that resource to change our country. In Kenya Kwanza, we have sufficient knowledge, commitment, and capacity to change this country. And nothing will happen without the education sector. Whether you are an engineer, you are a product of a teacher. Whether you are a doctor, you are a product of a teacher. Whether you are an astronaut, you are a product of a teacher. Everybody is socially engineered by the education sector. And once we focus on what we want to do, this country will be a major source of human resource export to our neighbors. When I was your foreign minister, we started a program that is ongoing very successfully of exporting our nurses and health sector personnel to Botswana, to Rwanda, and to other African countries. Today, the health sector of Botswana is literally run by Kenyans. I went to the Isle of Man for a meeting and I fell unwell. I was taken to a top-level hospital and I was attended by a Kenyan girl who was working there as a medic. And these are replicated everywhere. So our government, led by our captain, will take into account everything we've said here. But more importantly, we must, Your Excellency, bring sanity and eventually harmony between the Teacher Service Commission and the teaching fraternity. Because the Commission has abandoned its role as a good employer and behaves like a bad policeman to its own employees. And all this runs through when you have the man with chains as the head of the trade unions in the country and behaves the way he behaves, then you can understand how others get treated badly and nobody can speak for them. So Sioni here has been hounded out of office through the same machinations. So I want to finish by urging you in the education sector that we have challenges. When you go out there, many people are talking very excitedly about what changes they require in the education sector. As we continue this conversation, I'll be open-eared to keep listening to what you as practitioners in the sector would want to engineer and re-engineer the CBC program to get broad-based acceptability from both parents, teachers, and everybody else, so that we move together. Lastly, we give you our solemn promise that this is not a rhetorical engagement. This is serious talk. With serious commitment, we want to change this country. We were born here, we've grown up here, and the challenges that you have talked about here are the challenges we feel, we know, and we have experienced. And together, we can make it happen. Mwalimu Nyerere always said, everything can be done provided each one of us does their part. You do your part, we shall do our part, together we shall succeed. Thank you, and may I now invite the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi to also make a few remarks and give it to our captain to crown the day. Long live the teaching profession, long live the desire for acquiring more and more knowledge by Kenyans. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. His other nickname is Baba Oroma. And he's usually very eloquent. So in Kiluya we say, this man speaks too much Lusungu. Members of the education fraternity who are here, first of all, let me just join my remarks to those of Wetangula and Professor Munavo and the others to say we really appreciate those of you who are able to put us together today to be able to have this conversation. We really salute you because education is a very, very critical sector. And if we get it right there, we are likely to get many other things correct as we move forward. There are a few things that I just want to highlight. One is that we must continue to invest in education. There is this famous quotation where they say, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. So, as a commitment, as Kenya Kwanza, we will continue to focus and we shall improve on the utilization of resources so that our children, who are the bedrock of what we want to achieve, whether industrialization or whatever, that they are properly educated at all times. This is absolutely critical. Listening to Madam Amolo here and others, we have also seen what the cost of lack of dialogue can do. When a leadership becomes detached from the people, when a leadership thinks that every message must be through a trickle-down process, the consequences can be severe. I stand here as one of the people, jointly with Wetangula and indeed our Deputy President, who is our flag bearer for Kenya Kwanza, to speak to one thing. When we were talking about or building up towards the current constitution, 2010 constitution, in Naivasha, we were among the 3 proponents who really fought to make sure that the Teacher Service Commission becomes a constitutional commission, so that it can have independence and can be embedded in our laws, so that the welfare of teachers can be guaranteed at all times. And it was being pushed by NAT to make sure that we have it as a constitutional entity. Because at that time there was the debate that Teacher Service Commission should actually be dismantled, so that since we are embracing devolution, every county can then find a way of dealing with the employment of its teachers in the county. And we realized that that would have been extremely difficult under the circumstances that we were in. So we fought and we stood for the entrenchment of the Teacher Service Commission in the Constitution. Little did we know that some have thought that it was a license to suppress the teachers. Because it seems that is the tag that they now have. We shall correct it from the 9th of August this year. There is nobody who has driven this point home better than the lady who has spoken. If there is anybody who is watching, because I think this thing is so important, the Deputy President programmed that it must be streamed live, so that people can understand what is going on here. If anybody has been watching and listening, and you are not touched by the testimony that we have seen here, then you must be extremely inhuman, and you must be of a different race. Because the issues are very touchy. We need also in the education to make sure that we strengthen the partnership, because I am also a strong proponent of the private sector, and that is what Kenya Kwanza also stands for, that we must build a strong partnership between the public sector and the private sector. After all, you are producing talent for also the private sector. So we would look at incentives. For instance, if there are internships, we can create incentives through taxation. If Safaricom or Kenya Breweries or any other organization can guarantee that they are doing so much in terms of internship every year, this can be factored in and it can be converted into a tax benefit, so that we can have more employers taking up other people for internships. These are issues that we can revisit and we can develop as policy working together. Finally, so that I don't take too long, I just want to re-emphasize that when Kibaki took over, he came out with his 2030 vision. That was around, he took over in 2002. Now we are in 2022. So effectively, that vision has got a shelf life, in theory, of only 8 years. And it's done. Now, as we talk about the education and the program, beyond this forum today, I think we should start thinking seriously about a 2060 vision, or even beyond, incorporating the views that you have made and taking into account what you have talked about, the emphasis around the skills council, Everybody has really emphasized on this. We can start working on this basis and look futuristic and be futuristic so that we start preparing for that great movement that we want to be able to achieve in terms of job creation, in terms of technology and innovation. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an extremely important gathering. Yesterday, the DP led us into a conversation with the people with disabilities, which partly were touched on here, that we have not focused a lot around there. We also realized that we were on a learning curve in terms of the special needs of our country. So bringing all this together in the final policy documents that we shall have will really show a commitment from Kenya Kwanza that we want to be a government, and we shall be a government that listens, that dialogues, and then implements. That is what we want to do. So before I sit, Sosion, you are recognized as somebody who has suffered the vagaries of a certain institution. Maybe this is a consolation moment. You may want to say something before I call the deputy.
Yeah, indeed, I've not suffered. I paid the price of speaking the truth, which is a fruition today that we have renaissance in education, Your Excellency the 5th, of reopening proper dialogue. Your Excellency, sir, and together with the leadership of the various parties, this is a turning point in the history of education in this country. I'm saying so because Professor Paulo Freire, in his book, Democracy and Education, he defined education in another aspect, that education is dialogue. And when we conduct education in the process of dialogue in this way, we will never go wrong. I wish to remind everybody that Kenya, for the last couple of years, has been #1 at the top in terms of global competitiveness in education, both in quality and access. But because of these reforms that are not negotiated, we are now at #7. I want to tell all Kenyans, particularly teachers, and I can see KUPPET are here, I know they're here, members of KUPPET, if you can wave a bit, members of KUPPET, if you can wave a bit, they're here. Don't be intimidated. Members of NAT, if you're here, yes, and all of them are here. So the way to go is dialogue. And if we are at #7, we can come back up to #1 from this beginning. Your Excellency, we want to wish you well. And I would not wish to talk a lot. Everything has been discussed through this entire process, and the rest of the business will be during 9th of August. Once we elect you as the 5th president, I want to believe you are going to support the entire education system through this process of consultation, not just stakeholders consultation, but public participation and consultation in education for the public good. I've liked the commitment you've given even with the CBC, that then in line with UNESCO recommendations, you are going to allow further consultation, and I think that is the best thing to do. And once that is done, we will get it right. We wish you well, and I will now want to appeal to all teachers in the country. You have no reason not to vote William Samoei Ruto as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. And by that statement, there is nothing wrong. If we as teachers who are progressive, those in the classrooms, and who believe in a good future, we have a God-given opportunity. The way we had with Kibaki, another Kibaki has come in the name of William Samoei Ruto. And therefore, without fear, let us campaign for Kenya Kwanza and his presidential candidate, and I'm sure through this process we will run education system in a better way. Thank you, and may God bless all of you.
Thank you. Just before the Deputy President comes forward, Indimuli talked a lot about capitation. And one of the most distressing things is when the Auditor General produces a report and says she cannot access data of close to 60 billion. Did I read right? 60 billion of the capitation funds. She cannot access that detail to have a proper audit and to know whether the resources have been used properly or not. It speaks volumes about the need for us to become more accountable and transparent in our dealings. Mr. Deputy President, the floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, can we rise up briefly and welcome the Deputy President to make his remarks.
Thank you very much, my brother Musalia Mudavadi. Let's take our seats. First, let me take this opportunity to thank Professor Munavu, who was the chair of this education subsector, and they have worked tirelessly, I think, for the last almost 4 Brother Sosion and all the other who've been part of this team. And earlier, this is going to, and as we discuss about bottom up. It is a single, therefore, it must benefit in a very profound way. We have listened to the stakeholders who have spoken, and they have been processed by the team led by Professor Munavu. Maybe I can just highlight a few areas that we have undertaken to the country, that have been made in the past. That, number one, we are going to engage the public, and we have gone to close to 37 counties. We have listened to our teachers. We have listened, and today here we have finally come to the final conversation. Let me just say a few things as I have listened on, and Dimuli and his team should move in the direction of not just knowledge and exams. It should move in the direction of knowledge, skills, competencies, and value-based education. We are working UNESCO recommendations by students and other stakeholders can be subjected to a robust public conversation so that we can finally have a conversation that will lead us to ironing out the areas that are in contestation, and we can have an education system that serves our children and our requirements for the future. We are also undertaken as Kenya Kwanza that, in accordance with, again, UNESCO recommendations on education being more than just being in a classroom. It is in the context of culture, is in the context of communities, it's in the context of customs. And that being the case, we have 2 things as Kenya Kwanza that we want to undertake, that we will have a proactive support for citizens or students from marginalized areas, northeastern and other marginalized areas that do not today have adequate teachers, that we will promote. We will actively provide bursaries, and we will actively provide opportunities for people from those areas, Northeastern included, to join our teaching institutions and colleges so that we can promote the number of teachers coming from those areas as a means to enhancing the number of teachers from those areas, and Kenyans from other areas who go to teach in those areas will be incentivized so that they can provide teaching in those areas. We also undertake that we are going to abolish the delocalization policy as we set up now and replace it with a program that will appreciate that teachers are a national resource, and at the level of entry in employment, the nationalization agenda will be implemented at that level, and subsequently an incentive will be made available so that teachers who voluntarily want to teach outside their counties and outside their localities can be paid an allowance in promoting the national nature of our teachers, so that we can remove the current distress that is facing families and teachers who we have been given horror stories about, some of them committing suicide and that kind of thing. We have also agreed that to improve on access and quality of education, we will implement a minimum essential package for schools that are low enrollment, so that all the schools will provide the same quality of education irrespective of size. So that, and in that process, we will make it possible for even the small schools to provide the same quality of education as the big schools, and therefore create additional access where parents don't have to go looking for boarding schools or don't have to squeeze in what they call big schools because they offer a better quality of education. We will make sure that that same quality of education is available even in the small schools, so that we can encourage enrollment, especially in these schools. We also commit, as the Kenya Kwanza fraternity, that we will have a special service tariff for water, for electricity, for internet in all our learning institutions. Again, this will assist in making education affordable. We have also committing that we will work with the County Government Act so that we can make it possible for counties to deploy their resources in building schools where the public is of the opinion that their priorities is in building schools. Though the building of primary and secondary schools is the responsibility of national government, we're going to work out a mechanism so that it is possible for county governments to build schools where such is the requirement of the local communities there. We have also agreed that the current teacher continuous professional development program, which we support as enhancing the quality of delivery of education, and is a requirement that the quality of education is dependent on how much we equip the teacher with professional skills. But that improvement of professional skills will be funded by the government of Kenya instead of being funded by teachers. We also undertake as the Kenya Kwanza fraternity that it is necessary for us to build the capacity of teachers, as I have said, but also of managers of our teaching institutions, from primary schools to secondary schools to TVET, all the way to university, that there will be courses for people who are managers in our school institutions or learning institutions. And we are going to convert the current Kenya Education Management Institute into a Kenya School of Education, in line with the Kenya School of Government, so that we have an institution that concentrates on ensuring that there is continuous professional development of teachers and there is available professional expertise and education, professional equipment of our managers of our learning institutions, right from primary schools, secondary schools, and TVETs and universities, so that we can better manage our learning institutions. And there should be professional courses to enable persons hired to manage our institutions to do them better. We have also agreed that acknowledging the current teacher shortage and the impact it is having on the quality of our education and the delivery of our education, that the Kenya Kwanza administration will, in 2 phases, year 1 and year 2, eliminate the gap that currently exists of 116,000 teachers. We will hire year 1 58,000 teachers, and year 2 the next 58,000 teachers, to close the gap that currently exists in our teaching institutions. We have already assessed how much it's going to cost. It's going to cost us about 25 billion shillings, and we will make sure that there is budgetary provision for this to happen. We also undertake that, and we had this conversation yesterday, we're going to have it in the disability charter. We also undertake that all our students or kids living with disability, we are going to enhance the bursaries, and we are going to expand the bursaries from the current 47,000. Our suggestion is that we need to double the number of students benefiting from bursaries, children living with disability. We also undertake and commit that we will complete the 250 vocational institutes in every ward and the 52 TVET institutions that need to be built countrywide. We have built already almost 140 in the last 8 years. We believe that we can build the 52 in the next 2 years, and therefore make it possible for us to have a TVET in every constituency. And we have said that every TVET, alongside every TVET, we will build industrial parks, ensuring that the entire Juarez sector and industrial parks become part of our TVET infrastructure. Let me say 2 final things. That as Mwalimu Murage, Professor Murage has said here, we cannot continue to bury our heads in the sand. We have a crisis in our universities, and we have our crisis in our TVET institutions. which we must deal with. And the crisis is the underfunding of these institutions. Statistics show that of the requirements in our university education, we are funding both from University Funding Board and Higher Education Loans Board. We are funding up to almost 55% of what their requirements are. And there is no mechanism that is in place at the moment on how the 45% funding shortage is going to be mitigated or is going to be raised. And therefore, we are proposing, and this is the position of Kenya Kwanza, that to be able to, number one, effectively fund the courses in our institutions of higher learning, TVET and university, to be able to be effective in terms of funding, and to be able also to be targeted so that we fund the courses that have been assessed to be the ones that will influence our development trajectory going into the future. We are going to consolidate the University Funding Board, the TVET Funding Board, and the Higher Education Loans Board into the National Skills and Funding Council, as was recommended here. Let me repeat. We are going to consolidate the University Funding Board, the TVET Funding Board, and the Higher Education Loans Board into one body that is going to not only inform what are the skills that we want to deploy going forward, and also fund those skills in our TVET and universities in Kenya by forming the National Skills and Funding Council. That will make it possible for us to predict adequate funding for all the courses that will be taught in our universities, so that we improve on the quality, because if you need 100% to teach a certain course and you have only provided 57%, then it means the balance, since the university doesn't have the money, you pay 57% of salaries as is being done in Egerton, and somebody who has been paid half his salary, if you expect them to deploy their whole skill there, is expecting too much. Secondly, we will cut, universities will cut corners, and finally, we will reduce or we will lower the quality of our graduates. I do not think that's the way the country wants to go. So we have concrete interventions that we are suggesting and that will be implemented by Kenya Kwanza. And finally, as has been recommended here, we will raise our research fund from the current 0.8% to 2% as is required by the law. So, ladies and gentlemen, this discussion could not have been better. I think we have gotten the best brains, and I want to thank the men and women who have spent 4 months working on this document and benefiting from the input of the many fora that we have attended across the country, and of course the discussion we've had here this afternoon. With those many remarks, I think we will ask somebody to read out the charter, and then that charter, we are going to sign it here so that we are on a footing of taking the country to the next level. I forgot one of the most important aspects of this conversation that was mentioned here, and something that I worked on when I was Minister for Higher Education. As a means of ensuring that there is transition, 100% from primary to secondary, 100% from secondary to 100% from primary to secondary, and 100% from secondary to tertiary institutions, the Kenya Open University is going to play a very pivotal role. And as Kenya Kwanza, since all the blocks, in fact, I have signed the cabinet memo in 2009, I think, or is it 2010, to establish the Kenya Open University. We as Kenya Kwanza undertake that the Kenya Open University that will improve access to university education in Kenya will be in place in our 100 days of being in government. We believe that the people of Kenya deserve to have a virtual university that will be cheaper, that will be much more accessible, and that will give opportunity to people even who are not necessarily at student-going age, older people, and all citizens to acquire higher education in a much more cost-effective and efficient way. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Dr. Wanjiru Ndiritu. We are just validating what Your Excellency, you have just summarized, so let me read. This is Kenya Kwanza Coalition, Knowledge and Skills for a Sustainable Bottom-Up Economy. This is the Education Charter, the Education Charter, in combination of Article 11 of the Kenya Constitution, which obliges the state to promote all forms of national and cultural expression, including science and indigenous technologies. This education charter acknowledges also Article 43 of the Constitution, which provides education as basic fundamental right of Kenyan. And in acknowledgement again, Article 53, it provides that every child has a right to free and compulsory basic education. This Kenya Kwanza Education Charter is further grounded by Article 55 that states that the state is obliged to take measures, including affirmative action programs, to ensure that the youth access relevant education and training is given. It's also in coordination that everyone has a right to education in accordance with Article 26 of the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This charter, Kenya Kwanza Coalition Charter, is in appreciation that the youth are and remain a significant share of Kenya's population in the future, and therefore represent the most abundant and exploited fortune. And so it's therefore committed to providing a thriving environment to co-create value-driven future global innovators, investors, creators, problem solvers, entrepreneurs, global citizens, change makers, and critical thinkers. So now, therefore, Kenya Kwanza Coalition, we are committed to the following. I'm going to read the access to equitable and quality education, in acknowledging that the fact that Kenya continues to face challenges despite government efforts towards realization of education for all, including gender disparities, higher poverty levels, human resource management, and inadequate financial resources, we as Kenya Kwanza Coalition, we committed to, number one, ensure that all children have access to equitable and quality-free and early childhood primary and secondary education with 100% transition from each of these levels as affirmative action to bridge access to education gap in disadvantaged counties. Students that qualify and choose to pursue a course in teaching get opportunities for bursaries and scholarships, and teachers who chooses to teach in these counties benefit from an enhanced hardship allowance. Number two, as part of our effort to ensure access by all children to education, we shall strategically promote construction of low-cost boarding schools in ASAL areas to accommodate the pastoralist communities. Number three, we shall eliminate gender disparities in education and ensure equal access and substantially increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship. Number four, domesticate teacher recruitment and deployment at every level as per the UNESCO teacher deployment practice, which treats education as a cultural process conducted with a people's cultural context at the local level. All communities, including marginal areas, must affirmatively have teachers to handle the challenge faced by teachers resulting from decolonization, delocalization, introduce a teacher nationalization program at employment level and at any stage that is optional and is sensitized to ensure uniformity and fairness in teacher distribution across the country. Number five, introduce a minimal essential package, that is MEP, to public, primary, and secondary schools, to cushion schools with low enrollment, to enable the mid-school operational fixed cost. This will ensure consistent access to basic services by all public schools. Still continuing, number six, Kenya Kwanza Coalition commits to introducing a special service tariff for all learning institutions for basic utilities to facilitate their seamless access and connectivity. These include basic utilities like electricity, water, and internet connectivity for digital learning that often take a huge chunk of schools' budget. Number seven, through wider consultation, ensure avenues of appropriate amendments of the law is pursued to ensure flexibility of county government investing in infrastructure in public schools. This will be guided, however, by prioritization via public participation. Number eight, we shall ensure availability of subsidized, fortified, and nutritious food as part of expansion of existing school feeding program to reach 8 million pupils, working with the county government on a matching grant basis and capitalizing on its availability with the national strategic food reserves and local existing farmer marketing agricultural cooperatives at competitive prices. Number nine, we shall facilitate seamless academic progression of learners. The Kenya Kwanza administration commits to review the current exam-based system of academic progression, which has unnecessarily excluded millions of learners based on basic education level exit exams by embracing alternative entry criteria. Number 10, ensure that all government-initiated capacity-building trainings, including teacher continuous professional developments, are undertaken by trainers at the cost of government. And number 12, we are moving on. Ensure there is a good industrial harmony between the government and teaching fraternity and that they would be recognized and involved in education, policy formulations, and social dialogues on their professional issues in accordance with Article 41 of the Constitution. All existing collective bargaining agreements shall be honored by the government within the stipulated and agreed timelines. Number 13, ensure that the current teaching staff shortage at the basic education TVETs and universities are fully obliged. Number 14, restructure the Kenyan Education Management Institution into Kenya School of Education to build capacity for education staff and institutional managers at all levels of education. Number 15, continue our robust engagement with the public to facilitate assessment of the current curriculum and education structure towards finding a sustainable solution that will capture the essence of knowledge-based system while integrating 21st century skills, competencies, and value-based education. While undertaking this assessment, Kenya Kwanza government guarantees continuity of the learners without interference of the learning process. Now, for basic education, Kenya Kwanza Coalition is informed by the ongoing reforms and consequent public debates regarding the education system in Kenya, including policy, curriculum, registration reforms, lifelong learning, and the provision of education for the 21st century learner. And because of that, Kenya Kwanza Coalition is committed to develop an engaged, empowered, and ethical citizen while nurturing every learner's potential. Number 1, ensure that the current teacher shortage of 116,000 is fully bridged within the 2 financial years by employing 58,000 teachers at a cost of Kenya shillings 25 billion per year. Number 2, allocate sufficient resources to facilitate the implementation of quality education from early childhood to university level, while safeguarding the parent from any cost implications that might arise from the stakeholders' engagement recommendations. And number 3, Kenya Kwanza administration will work towards strengthening day secondary schools to guarantee access to quality education and reduce the cost of education. Currently, 72% of learners in secondary schools are in day schools, while only 28% are in boarding schools. Number 4, establish a national ERIM fund that will be mandated with regulating, mobilizing, dispersing, and managing all education grants, bursaries, and scholarships from both private and public sponsors. The fund will cater for accommodation and related courses. Number 5, work towards providing free sanitary towels for all primary and secondary school going girls. Number 6, enforce 100% return to school policy for all teenage mothers and ensure that they automatically benefit from existing government bursaries initiatives. And number 7, develop a framework on multidisciplinary approach to assess, praise, and support learners with special needs and disabilities and promote attitude change towards them. For higher learning and research, Kenya Kwanza Coalition is aware that the higher education sector is the main force that drives knowledge and skill development, research and innovation in Kenya. The sector has had challenges which have made it not meet its full potential. It continues to grapple with inadequate number of institutions to absorb increasing students' population, underfunding, inadequate material, I think there's a disconnect here, sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. So let me bring you back to speed again where we were. For higher learning education, higher learning and research, I stopped at that Kenya Kwanza Coalition is aware that the higher education sector is is a main force that drives knowledge and skill development, research and innovation in Kenya. The sector has had challenges which have made it not meet its full potential. It continues to grapple with inadequate number of institutions to absorb increasing students, population, underfunding, inadequate material resources, incapacitated human resources, and failing systems of governance and implementation. Because of this, Kenya Kwanza Coalition is committed to having a vocational training center, that is VTC, in each of the 1,450 wards in Kenya. The Kenya Kwanza administration will allocate conditional grants to county governments within its first 1 year to ensure that, in addition to the existing 1,200, will construct 250 VTC in wards that are currently lacking. Maybe that I need to emphasize again, that the existing 1,200 and they will construct another 250 VTC in wards and that are currently lacking. However, number 9, have a full equipped technical training and vocational education training institutions, TVET, in the remaining 52 constituencies within the first 2 years. Number 10, as part of strengthening the capacity of the TVET graduates, the Kenya Kwanza government will work towards establishing industrial parks in every constituency. Number 11, increase the number of technical universities from the current 3 to 8, at least 1 in every region. Also ensure all TVETs are linked to universities to develop a credit transfer framework to support academic progression. And number 12, Kenya Kwanza Coalition is committed to actualize the establishment of National Open University within the first 100 days to increase access and reduce the cost of university education while making 100% transition to higher education a reality. Number 13, introduce a 1 to 2 year paid national internship program for all students graduating from our learning institutions through a harmonious collaboration with the private sector. Number 14, to break the current higher education funding gap of up to 45%, Kenya Kwanza government will establish National Skill and Funding Council that amalgamates HELB, TVET, and University Funding Board. Number 15, immediately double the current higher education loans board funding from 11 billion to 22 billion and make the HELB loans interest-free. 16, research funding, increase funding towards research and development institutions from the current 0.8% to 2% of GDP in accordance with the Science, Technology and Innovation, that is STI Act, the STI Act 2013. Additionally, incentive the private sector to contribute towards research. There shall be additional incentives to the private sector to contribute towards research. Now, this is thus agreed and covenanted in Nairobi this 23rd of June, 23rd day of June, year 2022, by His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, Presidential Candidate, United Democratic Alliance Party, and Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for signing the charter. Now His Excellency the Deputy President, he has now signed the charter. A big hand of applause to His Excellency. Thank you, Your Excellency. Okay, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, here, we come here for a photo session. We come here at the center, kindly. Yes. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you very much. Kindly let's all be upstanding for a word of prayer as we close.